Tonight, the gloves are off as the too all familiar noisy season begins with forays, salvos, and new terms. The deputy and the head each seemingly pulling a polar side in the ruling Jubilee Party. The president says it's time for projects. His allies say the deputy is politicking. The latter continues to dare the so-called system and deep state. Odinga is back, but will it be a proverbial last bullet? Mudavadi says it can only be him, not a deputy to any. Good evening, this is Pandit's Night. I'm Abu Bakr Abdullahi and welcome to this discussion. Tonight we'll be making sense of the state of the nation. As always, you can be part of this discussion. Send us a message on 22047. The hashtag to use is Pandit's Night. Let me bring in my guests tonight. Our resident analyst, Herman Manyora, Opiyo Wandayi, who is Ugunja Member of Parliament, and former Mwingi Central lawmaker, Joe. Good evening, and thank you for making time for us tonight.
Good evening, Abu Bakr.
Well, Herman, let me start with you. Observably, it seems as though the noisy, if not silly, season of politicking is back, is it?
Oh, it's back in full swing. In fact, one would think the elections are being held next month. So let's dance the reggae and listen to the noise as we move forward. But really, we are in the deep of it all.
And is it not too early, Mheshimiwa Opiyo Wandayi, for politics to be in the limelight more than a year and a half to the general elections?
Yes, good evening, Abubakar. And I also agree that politics is back in full swing. And this was expected, if you ask me, because, you know, with or without COVID, Kenya does not exist in some kind of an island. We exist within the Community of Nations. Mm-hmm. And when you look at what's happening around us, firstly in East Africa, you see elections are going to be conducted in Tanzania next month. In last 2 months ago, elections were conducted in Burundi. You look at, you go further ashore and you see the campaigns going on in the United States of America. Mm-hmm. And then you come to the realization that even in Kenya, where the elections are going to happen in 23 months' time, mm-hmm. A time was going to come when the politics was going to begin in earnest, with or without Corona. Yes.
All right, we'll come to the specifics later on in this discussion, but nonetheless, for the general purpose and the context of our discussion, let me ask former Mwingi Central MP, Joe, this question, Joe Mutambu. Is it then too early, or is it ever early in politics? They say a day is too long in that field. All right, it seems we'll be getting back to former Mwingi Central lawmaker a little bit later in this discussion. Let's get to the specifics. The season is back because of, Herman, what is at stake in as far as the 2022 politics and election is concerned. Is it then already shaping up to be a case of Ruto versus Raila, observably from what we see now?
First of all, we need to understand that from the 9th of March, when Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga met and publicly shook hands, setting in motion what has come to be known as the handshake, and thereafter BBI, it was always obvious that the election had started. Mm-hmm. Because then this was really something that was going to derail Ruto. He was not going to take it kindly. He was not going to clap and celebrate it. So he then stepped up the campaign for his office to show that nobody would sideline him. Certainly, all this is about 2022. Mm-hmm. But also remember, Raila and Uhuru, especially Raila, have said there's going to be a referendum sooner than you can imagine. In fact, had it not been for Corona, we would be perhaps be in the deep end of that referendum. For that reason, the campaigning is because of the referendum, for those who are pushing for it, and for those who are opposing it.
Herman will
And
come
for 2022,
Herman, we will come to
certainly,
Herman, we will come to the question of whether there is even a genuine need amongst Kenyans to relook at the constitution and have a referendum. But nonetheless, is it a race of two decided fellas already, Opio?
Well, it is too early to say. What we know is that there's only one horse currently campaigning. That is the President William. In fact, you can be excused to say that he's competing against himself, because as you're concerned, no one else has declared their candidacy. The Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, the leader of ODM and NASA coalition, is on record so repeatedly that can wait, and when out, as he did recently in Kakamega, the coast, its call was that of national security, and therefore our preoccupation from where we sit as ODM, for that matter, is to ensure that we deliver the required reforms under the BBI framework. And anybody else,
you say it's one side that is campaigning. That is inaccurate, isn't it? We have seen your party leader equally transversing counties that are regarded as his stronghold, bringing back no one can stop reggae, and of course firing salvos at the deputy president. He is also campaigning, isn't he?
I'm very clear in my mind, and I've been very specific in my remarks, that the Honorable Raila Odinga is not campaigning for 2022. He is popularizing the BBI initiative. That is very different from campaigning for 2022 elections, which the deputy president and his team are engaged in. That must be made very clear.
And to
the time will come for the campaign, and yes.
And to you, the BBI rally and the 2022 polls are two separate entities.
They may or they may not be separate entities, but the fact of the matter is that no one on our side has declared their candidature for the 2022 elections. What we are doing is to prepare for the impending referendum, for the referendum which is going to happen sooner rather than later. Whether or not that referendum ends up creating a momentum for 2022 is neither here nor there.
All right, I understand. Herman wants to. All right, Herman, you want to react to that?
Mheshimiwa is being very economical with the truth. Only the other day, I think yesterday or day before yesterday, most likely yesterday, while on a coastal tour somewhere at the coast, Baba said, "Sijachoka, niko tayari, muko tayari." I think, in all fairness to all parties, Raila is ready for the elections, and he will be on the ballots. You asked me, and before I answered, you had jumped to Mheshimiwa. I think it is already obvious that Ruto will face Raila. It looks very obvious to me.
All right, let me bring.
Mheshimiwa is being very economical with the truth.
All right, let me bring Joe Mutambu to the discussion, who is the former Mwingi Central MP. Given then what we are observing now, and this is a question I have asked earlier on without underestimating anyone, is it already a race of two in your own view?
In my own view, first before I say my views, allow me to differ with my good friend Opio. And I want to tell Mr. Opio, Honorable Opio, Raila Amolo Odinga is not a priest to traverse our country preaching the gospel of whatever nature. Mm-hmm. He is a seasoned politician When I see Raila Amolo Odinga, I don't see a Catholic bishop. I see a politician and a seasoned one in this country. And I will welcome him in either my area, in my home, as a politician. And there is nothing which will bring Raila in Kitui apart from politics. He will not come to tell us when Jesus Christ will come. He will tell us about politics. BBI or BBI1, BBI2, or whatever you call it, it is all about 2022. So it is only those who are naive who will listen to Opio saying that Raila Odinga is talking about BBI and there's nothing to do with the politics. He will not waste his energy if he knows that he's not going to be on ballot. Coming to your question, whether it is race of two horses. For now, the people who are at the forefront, given the circumstances we are in at this particular moment, with the current constitution, if we do not change our constitution, that means Uhuru Kenyatta is out of equation. So the people who are left behind is Raila Amolo Odinga and William Samoei Ruto. The rest are others. You know, in politics, even Opio will tell you when he's vying in his constituency, he knows the strong people he's facing, and there will be others. People will say Opio will vie and so somebody else and others. So the rest
Joe, just on that, Joe, let me interject you at that point. You say others, they constitutionally stand a mathematical chance of becoming the president of this country as well, don't they?
Come again?
You say others, even though they stand a mathematical chance of becoming the president.
What I'm saying is, as per our constitution today, if we go to ballot with the current constitution, one Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta will be out of equation. He will have consumed his 2 terms and he will not be eligible to vie again in this country. So the only strong people left in our country today, if we are not strangers in this country, is one Raila Amolo Odinga and the other one is William Ruto. The rest are others who want to be carried by those 2 people. And I want to tell you, all those people you hear being mentioned left, right, and center, they will either go and form coalition with Raila or form coalition with Ruto. And that is what we are expecting.
All right. Let me pose your feedback as a question to Opio. Joe says, what will take your party leader for this matter, Raila Odinga, to Kitui is because of politics, because he is a politician.
You know, in politics, we are allowed to interpret things the way we choose to. And therefore, I respect Honorable Joe Tambu and my friend Herman Manyora thinking. But again, if you want to push me into the politics, again, it's a fact that after the referendum, okay, which I know some other people will be opposing, but ultimately the referendum is going to fail. The referendum vote is going to fail. We are then going to embark on the matter of 2022. And where I agree with this to an extent is that William Ruto is to be a factor. It's going to be one candidate, okay? But is going to come from amongst the progressive forces coalescing around the BBI matrix. And my prediction, of course, without fear of contradiction, is that the forces revolving around the BBI matrix are going to emerge triumphant in the elections when they are held ultimately in 2022. But that is something we are not concerned about. We are dealing with the bigger issue of bringing reforms that ensure that this country remains united now and future.
All right, Herman, in 2013, the proverbial word that was in the political spheres was a last stab in as far as Raila's attempt to the presidency was concerned. In 2017, there was the last bullet. In 2020, what will it be? Another bullet?
There was a famous book written in the 70s by Taban Loliong. And by the way, I have challenges with my sound, the echo and all that. I hope I'm clear from your end.
Yes, you are. Go ahead.
Taban Loliong from Sudan wrote a book called The Last Word. After many years, he emerged with another one. And they called it Another Last Word. So if Raila Odinga had the last bullet in 2017, he has another last bullet. After 2017 elections, some foreign station media house was interviewing me. And the drift of the argument was that Raila was now retiring, given his age. But I told them, Raila is a man I would not think that way of if he's still alive. Raila is a politician who will always come out with a trick from his heart. And in terms of age, there are much older politicians than Raila Odinga. There's Joe Biden wanting to be president. There is Bush himself. There have been others, and so on. So basically, age would not be used to say that's the last bullet, unless it's the politics. Jomo Kenyatta became president when he was roughly Raila's age today, and he remained president for 15 years. You get it? So I don't know whether they say last bullet because of age or politics, and I've already clarified, Raila is a politician you can't write off. After Ruto and Uhuru joined hands, people thought he was gone, and Mudavadi had left him. But he came up with code. In 2017, people said, okay, his people have deserted him. Kalonzo was saying it is his turn. According to the MOU they had with the code, again, we know what happened. He was able to come up with NASA, although it was Mudavadi's idea. So Raila is not a man you write off from a political point of view.
All right.
And in terms of age, I've said, you are never over until you are over.
But is it a bullet worth taking? Is it a productive one if the previous ones have seemingly not worked?
Again, those who argue that Raila should stop because he has lost are also wrong. We know what happened in 2007, including the referee himself, Kivuitu, chairman of ECK, who said things that were indicative of the fact that he didn't know who won. Judge Kriegler from South Africa, who came to look at these issues, said you couldn't tell who won. And in English, that means the person who won did not win. In 2017, we saw in the Supreme Court what happened, especially the evidence from Kethi Kilonzo. And then 2017, the thing was overturned by the Supreme Court. So again, you can't use that argument to say his bullets have not been effective. That's why there are those who are supporting BBI, so that there's a level field, a level playing ground, so that now if Raila loses, he should go home knowing he tried his best, but Kenyans wouldn't give him the job. So that will be the last bullet in a more serious and fair sense.
All right, let me bring Joe to the discussion, moving away from the bullets, the last, if not another one in that cartridge. Let's talk of the question of a Mandela moment. And this has been proposed by individuals who seemingly are championing for a Raila presidency come 2022. First, is the equivalence, in your own view, making sense?
You see, when you want your candidate to win, you will give him all sort of kind of good wording. You'll praise them, you'll give them all the names, all the good names, and you want to equip them with all the good people. And those who want him to lose, they will also equip him with all the bad and evil things. So, like Pio said, everybody has got his own freedom of expression, and they can express themselves the way they wish to. But my understanding is that if you compare an icon like Mandela, somebody who was an aim of power, and he said, I'm going to run for one term, and I'm going to hand over this power to another person. I have not seen that or any caliber of a man equivalent to Mandela, and I will not equate anybody with Mandela, including myself, because I also claim to be a politician. I'm very far away from being a Mandela, and we are very far to see a Mandela in this Africa, because most of African leaders, they would want to cling into power. Very few would want to relinquish their power despite the constitutional requirements. Some of them actually change the constitution to remain in power. So if you tell me that I'm going to compare our leaders, not only Raila Amolo Odinga, but also leaders in Africa with Mandela, we are not going to get any. So to me, I totally disagree with that. Then on the question of whether this is the first or the last bullet of Raila, I will not prosecute Raila with the narrative of last bullet. This is a narrative which is given or is said everywhere. And I want to take people to Kampani, where we also had a candidate in 2007. We had Kalonzo Musyoka, who said, "This is my time and I will pass katikati." And then that katikati was never to be. Then it came again the other time, and he told us, now this is the right moment. It is us now. We are going to be there. We never got there. Then it came again 2013. He said, now the chance is now or never. We never, got there, but we never lost hope. We are still thinking that Kalonzo will come back and give us another narrative now. This is the right moment. So those what will be there in politics, you will hear them today, tomorrow, or the day after tomorrow. So I will not accuse Raila for coming up with a narrative that is, I have my last bullet. The magazine of a politician never dries up. It will always have something. After the last bullet, there will be a bullet in the chamber. He will tell you now there is a silver bullet. No, that was a silver, there will come a golden bullet. There will come another bullet. So that one, I will not persecute Raila over it. What we need to understand is, what do Kenyans want? And if someone has not been lucky enough to lead this country for some reasons or the other, I want to disagree again with Professor Manyora that Raila won or who won during Kivuito's time. The person who won is the person who was sworn in. We have so many other politicians and other competitors who lose election, not because they have lost, but because they have not been sworn in. They are not the winners. So this is the politics. Politics is not a fair game. It is like that, and we need to understand it. If you wait for it to be fair, it will never be fair. I can tell you, even Wadai, from where he's seated, his opponent still believes that he never won, even though he was
Joe, let me interject.
Votes ahead of him. But he still believes that Wadai never won. So
let me interject you at that point. Let me interject you at that point. You say politics is not a fair game, but some will expect the outcome of a democratic election to be fair, isn't it?
From where? Where will you see? Where will you get that? Where do you expect to get that?
The Constitution says so.
In your house and you expect politics to be fair, it will not be fair. I want to tell Kenyans, if you think that the politics is fair, it will never be fair. It is supposed to be fair, free and fair, but that thing does not exist in Africa. You will not see it. You have to fight for your space. And in politics, you fight to the last minute. You don't just let it go, because and that's why you saw Raila swearing himself in, because he never believed he lost. The reason why he went to swear is because he believed that he won, and that's why Opio and the rest were at Uhuru Park swearing Raila as people's president. And because of that, today is somewhere in the same government.
Joe, irrespective of any argument, in an election in a democratic space, the outcome should, irrespective of what it becomes, should at least be fair and free. We agree on that, isn't it?
Allow me to say there's no democracy in Africa. There is no, we only see it on papers. It is not practiced. Tell me where it is practiced.
Okay, let me ask Opio that his party has been in the opposition, and he will differ with you, I suppose. But anyway, let me not speak on your behalf. Do you believe democracy exists?
Well, I personally don't like engaging in theories. So much. I'm a practical politician, and whatever you're calling democracy, again, has got different definitions to different people, and has got different standards to different people and different environments. So what is critical for us in this country is to nurture our own culture and system, yes, of governance that meets the expectations of our people. And all said and done, I don't believe in the theories of last bullet or second last bullet and what have you. What I know is that as long as somebody has got the blessings of God, and God has given them the life, and the people desire that they lead them, they will always lead them. Okay? In leadership, there's nothing like age, in my view. Yeah, we have got very, very youthful politicians, some younger than myself, who have never been elected, despite trying by all means. And we have got fairly older politicians who get elected year in, year out. So the issue of age is neither here nor there. What I can say, again, without the fear of contradiction, is that the Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga is in his own class, politically speaking, in this country. He is a statesman with very, very, very beautiful conviction. And therefore, again, if he so chooses, and mark my words, if the Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga chooses to run for presidency in 2022, I have got no doubt in my mind that he has got very fair chance of emerging victorious. All factors remain constant. And that is what it's all about. Yes, you must believe in what you believe in, and you move along. Again, this pretense that this country can only be led now by people who are calling themselves hustlers, whatever hustler mean, is diversionary. In fact, is defeatist. I don't think there is a situation that's going to be a time when this country is going to vote on the basis of the so-called hustlers.
We will come to the hustler versus dynasty narrative, but still on the narrative of bullets and the last of bullets. You say that is not something you agree with. Nonetheless, this is coming largely from your own party, saying the party leader will make his final stab. You disagree with what members of your party, for instance, say?
You know, during campaigns, my friend, you have to use all possible strategies. You need elections, but what I am saying here is that if anybody out there is deluding themselves that Raila Amolo Odinga is no longer in contention, politically speaking, in this country, then they need prayers. They need to be prayed for. Yes, what I'm saying is that as long as Raila Odinga is alive and breathing, he is going to remain a factor in the country. Whether he is to run for president or not, you ignore him at your own.
All right, let me get and bring Herman to the discussion now. Herman, we'll talk of what the DP has verbally or otherwise been fighting lately, which is the system, the so-called system and deep state. In his latest public address, I think outside Nairobi, he met some today at his residence. He said, and I quote, hata wakuja na system na deep state, sisi tuko tayari, tunawangojea na Mungu na wananchi. Understanding that the DP is part of the country's members of the National Security Council, which mandate is to exercise control over national security organs, including the military, the police, and the National Intelligence Service. Is the DP hinting at more powerful people than him, the second in command?
Certainly. Just give me half a second to say, because I'm a teacher, and like Malim Dida said, when you show a teacher a class, he will jump in. Let me just clarify this thing of Mandela moment. It doesn't mean anybody is equating Raila to Mandela. What it simply means, when a country has gone through a long struggle, and because these struggles take long, there's always somebody who symbolizes that struggle. There will always be an individual, and because of the length of that struggle, that individual could be old, like Jaramogi was. So a Mandela moment means a time comes when you are moving into the next level, like you are getting independence or liberation or second liberation, or like a transitional period like ours, then you give him and then he manages the transition and hands over power. That's what a Mandela moment means. Now, Ruto talks of deep state. He lives in Kenya, and he knows the frustrations politicians get when they attempt to be president, all the way from 1960-something. Jaramogi, 92, after we lifted the ban on political parties, all the way up to 2013, 2017. There is no doubt that there will always be some hand somewhere kind of wanting to control and determine how elections go. And this has been changing over the years. Earlier on, in the earlier days, it used to be a question of running away with the debates, messing with the voting itself and so forth. Now it has become even high-tech, like we saw in the Supreme Court, in terms of transmissions of results. But that can't happen on its own. There's no way electoral officials, like returning officers, can do the kind of things they were said to have done, or people suspect they do, unless there was somebody somewhere powerful. So in all countries, because elections are very, very important.
Haman, you say unless there is someone somewhere powerful than the second in command?
Yes. Of course, you see, it depends. Let me tell you, Abu Bakr, in some countries, even the president himself may be held hostage by the so-called deep state. So who's a DP? And a DP has an even clearer idea of what's going on. If the DP, for example, could have, I'm saying could, I know a little English. If the DP could have been a beneficiary of the same in 2013 and 2017, and he tested a bit of that, or a good measure of that in 2007, when he was the other side, he will have a very good idea of what a good state is. And perhaps, having understood the deep state as an insider, he's confident he can fight it. One could even argue that between him and Uhuru, perhaps he superintended and supervised that deep state activities in 2013 and 2017, perhaps much more than Uhuru. And therefore he knows where he can touch and deal with them. But certainly the deputy president of a country, for like 8 years, he would know.
Haman, hold on that thought. Let me bring Opio to the discussion. Deep state so-called system, are these things that in your view exist, or are they superficially created things?
It a system, exist or not, I don't want to speculate. As you know, throughout my life, I have never been in government. I must also confess that. But let me say this, that when I listen, the more I listen to the deputy president speak, including yesterday in Kitengela, the more I am convinced that it is no longer that he continues to stay in office as Uhuru Kenyatta's principal assistant. The more he speaks, the more I get convinced that the marriage between President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto is irretrievably broken. And therefore, the only thing that amuses me is that they continue in this pretense that somehow they are working together in government. So let me say this. From where I sit, the gloves are off. The gloves are off in a manner that can only mean that the sooner the two of them went separate ways, the better for the country. And in fact, I want to challenge the deputy president that where they have reached with this box, it is time he most critical step and resign from government so that he can advance his political interest outside of government. And that's the time now we can know who is stronger than the other and the hustlers. You see, So that's the only thing that is happening. Yeah. Otherwise, this other shenanigans will not take us.
All right, Opio, I asked you that question because of what the elder brother of Raila Odinga, Oburu Odinga, said, and I quote, "Why have we not gone to State House," he asks, "when we have won the elections twice?" He says it is because there was something we were missing called the system. We again in reference to Raila Odinga, we again in reference to ODM. Is this a view that is approved within the party?
If I can recall, the Honorable Dr. Oburu Oginga, my very good friend, was expressing his personal views, which he is entitled. No one can stop him from expressing those views anytime, any day.
And by any chance, are those views equally held by the party?
That would be speculation, because the party you're talking about is a party in which I serve as the Secretary for Political Affairs. So I am in a better position to understand and to know what the party stands for and what the party thinks. So we're not going to come like personal expression of personal opinion by the party. But the other thing is that this country has come of age, and Kenyans have become wiser. They know for sure who means well and who doesn't mean well for them. When the time comes for elections, Kenyans are going to make a decision. And that decision is going to be informed by what they perceive as their best interest.
All right, let me bring Joe to the discussion now, and still on the matters of deep state and the so-called system. And I quote again what the DP said in, of course, his statement. He says, and I quote, "We are threatened that there is a system, that there is a deep state, that even if you vote, there will be people who will rig out votes, that there are people who will sit somewhere and decide. We are waiting for those people, and that system and the deep state." Again, the very basics of questions, is this finger pointing a genuine one, that there are people who can interfere with the elections irrespective of the outcome?
I respect what Opio said, that Kenyans have become wiser. And I would want to relate this with what is happening in our country, that Kenyans are becoming wiser on a daily basis and they're understanding. And what I want to say is that if there's any fool in this country, one is not Dr. Oburu Odinga. This is a very wise man, and a old man and wise man. And when he speaks, he knows what he's talking about. He cannot just utter words like any chokora in the street. I will take Oburu very seriously when I hear him speak, out of the respect I have for him, out of the age, and because he's been in, he has seen it all. He was born in government. He was there. His father, because Oburu is the older brother of Raila Odinga, and his father was in system, was in power, and he understood it very well. I can tell you, if you drive your car with your son alongside, even if they don't sit on that driving seat, they can tell you that is a brake, that is accelerator, that is a clutch. They can tell you some components of driving. So Oburu knows what he's talking about. Coming back to the narratives of deep state, deep that, deep this, what I would not do, I will not dismiss anybody's strategy in politics. We've been treated to narratives of wakiiba tunaiba, wakihesabu tunaweza. Those were the narratives of the opposition then. And again, I will not also jump into conclusion and say that the marriage between Uhuru Kenyatta and Ruto is over. Who knew in this world that at any given time, Uhuru Kenyatta will extend his hand and greet Raila Odinga? I was in the campaign of Uhuru Kenyatta. I was the person who was leading campaign in Eastern, and I knew what we were going through and what we went through with Raila Odinga. I know what happened when we repeated the election. But all these gentlemen, they saw their pride and they greeted one another. So when we just jump into conclusion that this is over between these two gentlemen, I am not convinced that because I know in this country of ours,
Joe, you say we should.
It's a very long time, and things can change without us knowing.
Joe, you say we shouldn't conclude. Let me interject you at that point. You say we shouldn't conclude, but when you see the deputy and the head, each reading from different political scripts, from the initials of matching ties to disagreeing in public on even the BBI, you say there's nothing wrong there?
When Raila was swearing himself, was he reading the same script with Uhuru? When he was swearing himself, when Wadai was in Uhuru Park, were they talking the same language? Ask Wadai, he will tell you when he was being ejected from parliament, was he talking the same language? And all that narrative has changed. That what I'm saying, a day in politics in our country is a very long time, and we should not just rush into making assumption that it is going this direction or that direction. I want to remain calm, and I want to tell Kenyans to remain calm and to make wise decisions like Wadai has advised us. Let us be calm and make decisions and know who is for the good of this country and who is not good for this country. But the moment we jump into conclusion and we start hurling insult to people without knowing what will happen later, what I'm telling Kenyans is that Wandai, Mutambo, and the rest, we are just followers. Whatever Baba will say tomorrow, we will all shift to that direction. Today, if Baba says that we are no longer with Uhuru, Wandai will be singing another different song. Tomorrow, if somebody Kalonzo says you are not with Uhuru, the campus will be singing a different tune. If Ruto says, you know what, my brother Uhuru, we are together, whatever happened, let's burn the hatchet. All these guys you see in the Kalenjin land who are abusing people left, right, and center, you will see them singing a different song. So what I'm saying is this country is led by few individuals who make decisions for the rest.
Joe, you paint a picture of a politics without principles, flip-flopping from one party to another. Nonetheless, before we move on, I understand there's quite a number of feedback on 22047. Kelly from Kitengela says, we want someone who can fix the economy as an agenda, and that is Mudavadi. We don't want people who polarize our country. That is Kelly from Kitengela. Nixon on 22047 says, I then conclude that African leadership is wholesomely about individual interest. Keep talking to us. Send us a message on 22047. The hashtag to use on Twitter is Pundits Night. Nonetheless, let's continue with the discussion. Haman, lately we have, of course, observed in the political arena of the dynasty and the hustler narrative. But it seems as though that is changing as well, to the extent of now Oburu Odinga and Raila Odinga being accused of being dynasties. First, in your own view, is this a narrative that is politically viable to sell, of hustler versus dynasties?
Of course, in politics, people can grab on just get a small thing and make it big, and it becomes a rallying call, and it decides an election. So hustler versus dynasty can decide this election of 2022. It can be the selling narrative. Of course, I don't know what to say, because really, some of the people being called dynasties are not even dynasties. And some of the people calling themselves hustlers are billionaires. So, but nevertheless, it's never really the truth. It is a narrative that then gains currency, and it could be used to influence an election. I must also be allowed to add that 2022, perhaps more than any other time in our history, will be determined by narratives. In fact, you people in the media are going to play a very critical deciding role. Whoever sells the winning narrative, whether it is hustler, whether it is betrayal, whether it is dynasty versus hustler, whether it is thieves versus saints, whoever has the best narrative in this election will carry the day. So this dynasty thing is not something you can take, and you can see Ruto is running away with it. He's really getting some following, and the way he addresses the people, in much the same way Trump did in 2016. You remember Hillary Clinton made a mistake by calling some people a basket of deplorables. And Trump got hold of it and ran away with it all the way up to the White House. So you can see Ruto is speaking directly to Mama Mboga. Anasema hii serikali ya 2022 tutaunda na Mama Mboga, watu wa kinyozi, nyinyi watu wa bodaboda. And you see it is stinking. It is getting there, not stinking. It's quite getting there. It is touching people. It is resonating with those people, you see, from their fellow hustler in quotes. And that's why I'm saying the other side of the divide, the handshake side, if they let Ruto run away with this narrative, they will discover when it is too late, and they may not be in a position to counter it. So yes, the hustler versus dynasty is a narrative that could be a dangerous card in the hands of William Ruto.
Let me get the thoughts of Opio on that as well. The narrative of the hustler versus the dynasties, or the dynasties versus the hustler.
Has campaigned and won election, not once but twice now. I can tell you that campaign is all about how you package your candidate. So, all the hustler dynasty divide is a campaign gimmick again, being constituted by the Tanga grouping. How far it will go, I can't tell, but I can also tell you for sure that they're going to get a counter narrative. They are going to face a counter narrative once the countdown begins. Yes, it won't be a walk in the park. That much you must understand. So to me, it's nothing more than just a campaign, because if you look at it clearly, among those people who are dynasties and the hustlers, who for sure can you say is a hustler, and who is not a hustler there?
Well, Opio the DP says he started from humble beginnings.
You know, some of us have started from humble beginnings, and we never talk about it. Yes, we never talk about it.
But the fact that he talks about it is not wrong, equally, is it?
The fact of the
but Abubakar,
a beneficiary of the establishment, and therefore he cannot run away from the very system that has nurtured him. Yeah, we are going to tell it as it is when the time comes.
All right, Haman wants to respond to that. Go ahead, Haman.
Yeah, I just wanted to assist my friend, a very good friend of Pio, understand those hustlers in Kitengela, those people who have nothing, who are going to sleep hungry that night, they are not blind. They can see those hustlers, the Kimani Ichung'wah, William Ruto and the rest. They are speaking on the rooftops of very, very powerful cars. And they come to those meetings in helicopters. So they know they are rich people. They know they are not hustlers, but they want to take them as hustlers. They believe it's a narrative. They are ready, and they are accepting it, and it's resonating with them, even Haman, when they can see. Yes.
All right, Haman.
That's what I mean.
I understand we're out of time. Nonetheless, the same question, Joe: is it a narrative or a reality that the deputy president is a hustler? In this reference, without the real definition of it, a man who started small, climbed through the ladder and made himself to what he is today?
To me, being an advisor to my good friend Wadai and Uhuru and Raila, I will tell them, ignore this narrative at your own peril. Why? I am a Christian. And the background of Christianity is that Jesus Christ was not born in a hotel. He was not born in a palace. He was born in a kettle den somewhere. What does that tell us? The narrative Ruto is trying to create is trying to tell Kenyans that I came from humble background. And that is what Kenyans will be looking at. I am fighting against the people who have been brought up by the president and the vice president in this world. I was brought up by a head man, and any person, including you, Mama Mboga, you can raise to be where I am, and that's why those people will run with Ruto, and that's why Ruto is running away with that narrative. This is a narrative I will not ignore at any given time as a politician. I will find a way of how to counter it, because it's a very powerful weapon. Ruto has realized this weapon, I can use it to fight whoever is ahead of me or whoever wanted to challenge me, and I want to go to that Mama Mboga. And he is talking about facts in our country. He is reaching to those people who are sleeping without eating, and he is telling them, you know the reason why you are not eating? You look at me, I was in the same government, and now here I am because I was not a part of this system, the so-called system, because I was not a dynasty. I'm being pushed away. So the only thing we can do is us to come together. I want to take us back to history. The reason why the fighters of our freedom came with the narrative of our land, it is because land resonated very well with the people, and the people are saying we have nowhere to up it. And if these white men settlers take all our land, what are we going to do? So they came up with the narrative of the land. These people want to take our land, and we are going to fight for the land. The freedom we fight for, people are not saying we want to be president, we want to be prime minister, we want to take over the government. They said they wanted to take over the land. They were not talking about leadership or being in the government or anywhere. And the people resonated very well with them. So this is a narrative which you cannot ignore at any time. And whoever wants to ignore this narrative, shauri yako, I will not do so if I were those people who want to face Ruto in the coming election. This narrative is a very dangerous narrative, and it is penetrating to people, and we should not ignore it, saying that this is something which will go away. It will not go away. And once we say there is enough time, there is no enough time. We have only 1 year. Next time, everybody will be campaigning fully. And I want to tell you, even one day from where he's seated, he knows very well if there is somebody who is talking to Baba, he wants to know who is this person talking to Baba from my constituency. And
all right, Joe. Fair enough, Joe. You've made your point. One final question, and because of the interest of time, let's take 30 seconds to answer this question each. Kenya has had 11 vice presidents since 1963. Namely Jaramogi Odinga, Joseph Murumbi, Josephat Karanja, George Saitoti, Musalia Mudavadi, Michael Kijana Wamalwa, Mudi Awori, Kalonzo Musyoka, and now the Deputy President, William Ruto. Out of these 11, remove Ruto, remain with 10. Out of these 10, only 2 became presidents. And this is Moi and Mwai. In less than 30 seconds, how easy or difficult will it be for the DP to clinch power come 2022? Herman, let me start.
What I said it all, it depends on how you package yourself. And it depends on who supports you. And it depends on who you go with. And it also depends on the narrative, what you're taking to the people. It doesn't matter whether you've been a deputy president or minister or whatever. For you to become a president, you can come from nowhere to be a president. Everybody disregarded Uhuru Kenyatta. They thought Uhuru Kenyatta would not be a president. But he has led us for 10 good years.
All right.
All the narratives will be running across that Uhuru is this, Uhuru is that. But he has divided all those odds, and he's been our president for 10 years now. He will finish his term.
All right, Joe, fair enough. Opio, 30 seconds because of the interest of time.
Connection is very poor. Thank you very much, Abubakar. Thank you very much, and all the best.
All right, Herman, 30 seconds as well.
You see, Ruto is a different cup of tea. and we are in a different territory. For the first time, we have a vice president or deputy president who is openly campaigning and almost openly defying his boss. So this is a new terrain. We will have to watch and see. Secondly, we are being made to believe from Ruto that perhaps for the first time, the deep state may not be important. So this is quite a challenging thing, and we live in interesting times. Let's wait and see what comes out of a defiant deputy president and a deputy president who believes for the first time an outsider will be able to fight the deep state.
All right, Herman Manyora, our resident analyst, Joe Mutambu, former Mwingi Central Member of Parliament, Opiyo Wandayi, Ogunja Lawmaker. Thank you, gentlemen, for making time for us tonight on TV47, Pandits Night, rather. Well, keep talking to us. Send us a message on 22047. The discussion continues on social media. On 22047, Basenga from Korompoi says, Kenyans should vote in a new blood, not Ruto, not Raila, not Mudavadi, and the likes of Kalonzo. All of them should be voted out. You're watching Pandits Night with me, Abubakar Abdullahi. Well, because of the interest of time, we won't be able to sample some of and all your views. Well, that brings us to the end of tonight's edition of Pandits Night. On behalf of the entire team that made this production possible. Bye for now. Tonight of all nights. Good night, but enjoy the rest of our programs.